I'm going to move on to some other questions, and I guess part of another one through this holding provision is rental units. So right now in Hamilton, I was recently at a panel discussion with the Hamilton-Halton Apartment Association, and they had Effort Trust, Greenwin, and Homestead, and one of the phrases they used was an epidemic of a shortage in purpose-built rental stock. And we're seeing that as rental rates continue to climb, real estate prices continue to climb, and with development, typically some of that existing rental stock might be eliminated for a new building. However, with some of these holding provisions and some of these plans through the downtown secondary plan, we have to be mindful of that and actually take care of those residents that were in those spaces with replacement units and ensuring that they have the ability to reside back at those residences. So with that question, I'm going to put this to Jason. And so there is definitely a big conversation about affordable housing and an overall shortage of purpose-built rental housing. The downtown secondary plan addresses both of these topics to ensure replacement of existing rental stock and inclusionary zoning through the downtown. So can you speak to how this is being incorporated into the new plan and how we're going to make sure we have that inclusion, everybody's taken care of and we're replacing and increasing our rental stock?
Well, you know what, I'm seeing the market sort of focus now. Judy could probably give you stats, maybe, on at least confirm that it seems while many developers are coming forward wanting both the label of condo and rental, Grand Court's a good example, pitching 5 phases, mostly condos minus the hotels, not long ago, and we're seeing that there's a market again for rental. As for affordable housing, Derek, we have in our objectives with this plan on housing, item 6.1.4.11, that speaks to in greater detail as you look into appendices and so forth, but the demolition, redevelopment of rental housing units with our new downtown secondary plan shall be permitted only where the following can be achieved to offset the impacts. And there are 2 criteria here. A, it shall be demonstrated that the rental housing units have been replaced on site, and B, an acceptable tenant relocation and assistance plan addressing the right to return to occupancy and to occupy the replacement housing at similar rents, the provision of alternative accommodation at similar rents, and other assistance to lessen the hardship is provided. And so while we did address this to some capacity in previous plans, we are looking at this in a much more inclusive way. In fact, there's no other example of anything being as remotely close to this as far as secondary plans go in the city of Hamilton, to my knowledge. And very much speaking to what we've heard loud and clear and what I've certainly appreciated from the time of being a young man growing up on the northeast side and having those opportunities. And a big part of when you kind of read between the lines of this plan is there's an emphasis on mixed income blocks, mixed income developments, mixed income communities. And you've already touched on it with a few of your questions earlier, the staff and their answers. A building doesn't have to be all social housing. A building doesn't have to be all affordable home ownership. A building doesn't have to be any one criteria. Oh, high-end condos, it can be a mixture of both. Or a block can be a mixture of both. Huge successes in Regent Park in Toronto. Major investments. Community benefits that bring jobs to former residents who occupied the old Regent Park who come back to live in the new with the condos, with the seniors housing and everything else. And mixed income communities are born, and I think and I think this plan speaks to it in many ways, are healthy communities, and that's the major focus, and it's a big part of our vision of the downtown secondary plan, to create, maintain, and nourish healthy communities. And so I think in spades we've got it covered, but particularly for those interested in making an investment, and I've said this to a few folks who've been asking about the plan even before it was ratified by council. You know, if you're looking at doing something with what is now maybe an underutilized piece of property, a 2-story building where we now have the opportunity to go 15 stories, let's say. And they're in that 2-story building or 4 units, and every one of those 4 units are paying affordable rent. It's your responsibility to look after those folks. That's basically it, whereas before it was a smaller percentage or depending on the development block or the development piece. So that's something, if you're going to invest, that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate as we move forward, because we're still in a downtown, and you talked about people removing stairs and nothing happening above the first floor. We're still having challenges, and we're still hearing loud and clear from a large group of people, a large collective and a large demographic, all speaking to the fact that we need to do everything we can to ensure affordability, because God knows, we're the #1 place to invest. People like you are dressing great for a reason. You're making money selling Hamilton, and you're doing a great job at it. And I couldn't be more proud of you, Derek. But we can't leave anybody behind. So we're extremely inclusive with this plan, and particularly under the objectives heading and under housing, we have literally embedded it, and so it's literally doctrine or policy.
That's great to see. I think even one of the other elements of that is not just from a price point perspective, but also from a size. Also that we have units in these, we're talking a lot about condos because that's typically what happens when we have these heights, but that we have units that can also house families. So instead of these 500 square foot, 550 square foot units, which we're sort of seeing a bit of a trend in, I think the magic number is under 540 square feet. The parking requirement in the past was 0.3 as opposed to 1 spot per unit over 540 square feet. So what was happening, people were reducing unit sizes to have lower parking requirements, but those unit sizes weren't suitable for families. So it could have been at an affordable price point. However, how do you incorporate a family into 540 square feet? I'm pulling off right now 1,000 square feet with 4 people. It's difficult. Yeah, plus the Velky is my safe haven. But nevertheless, yes, it's not just price point, it's also about the size to be able to accommodate everybody as well.